Hey there everyone, in today's training program we are going to learn face reading and the ability to become a psychic and be able to tell people's thoughts and read their subconscious mind. And guys, I have been using these stuff since ages and I have a spotless reputation of being so precise that usually when people sign up for my 15 days instant healing program and they enroll into that free mini therapy session with me, when they are talking, I'm doing a lot of reading. And when it's my turn to speak and I start speaking and I start telling them my analysis about what I can read about them, they usually have a jaw-dropping moment like, you know so much about me. My friends and family who understand what I do will often come up to me and show me an Instagram profile of someone that they are really interested in, and they would go like, can you read something about this particular person? And I would usually give them my reading. And a lot of the time, these people will come back to me and they would be like, you were so spot on about this particular person. So what we are about to learn today is so precise. And if you master this, you can read anyone flawlessly. Now, in today's training program, what we are going to cover is your psychology equals to physiology, face reading by 3 split model, face reading by split face model, body reading by physiology to psychology, body language reading by space and movement, linguistic analysis reading. Now, these are the topics that we are going to cover. Now, let's begin to become a psychic. Now, let's start with section 1, which is your psychology equals to your physiology. This is so fundamental to understanding how you can read someone. The body does not lie. Human physiology is a mirror of inner psychology. Every posture, tension pattern, and muscular holding in the body corresponds to a specific psychological pattern formed either through life experiences or subconscious conditioning. This section explores the foundational principles that psychological states imprint themselves on physical form. In cold reading, this understanding becomes the first entry point to accurately assessing someone's internal world without them saying a word. Now, you need to understand how cold reading is done, but for that you need to understand how our subconscious mind works. Now, I want you guys to understand this. Whatever emotions we feel, they are usually visible on our face. At times you will meet someone and you can just look at their face and you can tell whether they are excited, sad, or angry, because any emotion we feel inside, our subconscious mind will reflect it on our physical body. And one of the principles that you need to understand is our subconscious mind does not understand the difference between emotional feeling and physical feeling. The same goes for pain. It does not understand what is emotional pain and what is physical pain. If there is emotional pain, your subconscious mind will create physical sensation inside your body. That means that your physiology is a byproduct of your emotional conditioning. And that also means that any kind of emotion that you consistently feel for a prolonged period of time, your subconscious mind will create a physiological impact for that particular emotion. So if the emotion is being consistently felt, the subconscious mind will create a physiological sign. And we are going to learn how we can read these physiological signs to understand the internal reality of a person. Now, let's start with understanding what Hermetics have said. As above, so below. That is so true. That means the body will show you the signs of your psychology. And Hermetics have said this a lot of the time. So you need to understand in psychology, this is so true. Your physical presence is the reflection of your internal world. So let's understand this. The mind and body are interconnected. Emotions manifest physically. And you guys, if you have been observing my content, you will realize I have been speaking about this. If any of your emotions is not balanced, the part of the body that is associated with that emotion will also be damaged. And the moment you heal the emotion, the physical aspect of your body also heals. So there is a direct connection between your emotions and your physical body. Subtle shift in muscle tension, posture, and energy flow reflect subconscious states. Observing physiology offers a live diagnostic of psychological condition and emotional tone. Psychosomatic markers, example, frown line, shallow breath, light shoulder, reveal long-term emotional patterns. Now, in this training, I'm not going to take you guys into advanced reading methods, but whatever we are going to learn today, these methods will give you a lot of upper hand in reading people flawlessly. Now, before we start with section 2, I want you guys to understand a basic rule of thumb when you are reading someone. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys different models of reading people, but understand this. To effectively be able to read someone, you need a cluster of models. What do I mean by that? That means what we are doing is we are calculating the probability of what's going on inside a subconscious mind. So these are probabilities. So if you use one single model to analyze someone, the probability of you being right might be less. So you need to combine at least 2 to 3 models to read someone, such as if one of the models says that the person is very impulsive, you cannot directly conclude that this particular person is impulsive. You need to test that through other models. So the more models you apply in reading someone, it will give you the commonality of analysis. So once you have some common analysis by each and every model, you will have a cluster of reading. So once you apply all these different models, your probability of knowing someone goes significantly higher. So let's start understanding these different models. Now, section 2 is face reading 3 split model. Now, this is what I want you guys to understand. Observe the face. This is how we split the face in 3 sections, and each of the section will tell us different stories about a particular person. Now, let's first get an introduction. The face is the most expressive part of the human body and reveals a person's dominant energetic orientation, intellectual, analytical, or emotional. By dividing the face into 3 horizontal zones, you can gain insight into how a person perceives and interacts with the world. Now, just to give you guys some basic premise about how this particular model works is, you need to understand evolutionary psychology. Anything that is alive will adapt to its environment. And that means that human body or animal body or even plants, they adapt to their environment. So let's suppose if there was less oxygen, any living organism that is living in those states will adapt to that particular environment, or their biology will shift to enhance their survival. So that means our senses also work like that. Our physical body develops to adapt to the environment. So our senses are also a byproduct of the environment that we have been raised in. Now, in this model, we split the face into 3 sections, and each of the section tells us a different story about a particular person. Now, let's study these 3 sections and then let's understand how we can apply this. 3 splits and meaning. Let's talk about the first section, which is the upper face. Now, the upper face starts with the hairline and the brows. Now, a lot of you might be like, what if a person is bald or they don't even have a hairline? Try to assess where the hairline was. And one of the understanding that you need to have is our emotional states evolve with time and our physical body reflects that. So if a person's hairline is going back, that means that is also reflecting their emotional state. So what you have to observe is this particular section from your hairline to your brows. Now, what we do is you have to assess if this particular part of their body is big or not. So you have to assess the size. And what does the size represent? This represents mental faculties and intellectual orientation. A large or pronounced upper third suggests a person who values learning, consumes knowledge, and makes decisions based on intellect. Now, I want you to recall Einstein, and you will observe Einstein had a really big forehead. Now, if you understand this, if someone has a big forehead, that tells us this person operates on intellectual capabilities. They consume a lot of knowledge. So their decision making is highly based upon knowledge and the sort of philosophies that they have learned in their life. So a bigger forehead always represents that a person has a high probability of being knowledge driven. Now this is just the upper face. Now let's look at the middle face. Now the middle face starts from your brows and all the way down to the tip of your nose. So this particular section of your face. Now you also have to observe this particular section of the face and assess if it is big or if it is small, and what does it tell us. It is associated with analysis, logic, and perception. A dominant middle third indicates a person who is highly analytical, observant, and detail focused. Now, if you observe, the second section of our face, the mid part of our face, has our eyes and our nose. The sort of senses we use to observe and analyze our environment. So, if someone has the middle section of their face big, this means that this person analyzes these senses more. So they might be very observant, they might be very analytical, they might be very visual focused, and that helps you understand how this person makes their decisions. So you have to assess if this part of their face occupies the majority of their face, and if it occupies the majority of their face, you can tell that this person is very observant. They might also be very visual oriented, and they might also be very analytical. Now let's look at the lower face, which starts from your nose tip all the way down to your chin. Now, this reflects emotional drive, willpower, and sensuality. A larger or more defined lower third implies strong emotional expression, sexual appetite, or action-oriented personality. So, a person who has the lower face that is much wider or more defined means that this person would be high on empathy, their sexual appetite might be high, and this particular person operates on their emotions. So their decision making is emotionally driven. Now, what do we understand by this particular model? What we understand by this model is anytime we look at someone's face, I want you to split it into three and see which part of their face occupies more area. The part of the face that occupies more area shows their dominant decision-making strategy, and you can instinctively tell if this person is knowledge-driven, or if this person is analytical, or this person is emotionally driven. And this will tell you a lot about how a person makes their decision. So let's do a quick test. Now that you guys are observing me, I want you to apply this model on my face and comment down your analysis. And if your analysis is right, I will reply back to you. But this will help you understand how to apply this in real life. So all you have to do is just observe my face, put it into three sections, 1, 2, and 3. And observe which section of my face occupies the most space. And whichever part of my face occupies the most space shows that is my dominant decision-making strategy. Now, this model in itself will give you a lot of insight into how a person makes their decision. This is just the first model. So practice this, comment down below, and check if your analysis is right. And I'll tell you my honest answer. Now, I will also let you know that I have a thing for women that have really sharp jawline. And all my exes, except one of them, had really great jawline, and they were all emotionally intense. Except the one that didn't have a strong lower face. And that in itself tells me that you can read a person's decision-making strategy and how they are inside just by looking at their faces. So often at times when I get attracted to these women with really strong jawlines, I can instinctively tell they are emotionally intense, and I can instinctively tell what is their decision making strategy. And this can be used even in sales. You can understand your customer, how they make their decisions. Now this is just model number one. We're going to go to model number two to understand another model of reading people. Now, section 3 is face reading, split face model. Now, in this model, we're not doing the horizontal split. We're just splitting the face in half from the center. As it is shown in the picture, this is how you analyze someone. Now let's understand the introduction. The two sides of the face express different aspects of a person's inner world and social mask. The left side correlates with internal emotions and unconscious pattern, while the right side reflects what a person presents to others. Analyzing both sides provides insight into emotional congruence and inner conflict. Now, how we read a particular person with this model is we have to check both the splits. That is, when you split a face in half, you have to look at their left side and their right side. Now this video is, I guess, mirrored, so just do your analysis. The best way to understand is, what is your left? The left side represents how you are inside. The right side reflects what you show to the world. Now this way of reading will tell you how a person feels inside and how they present themselves to the outside world. So let's understand this, then I will give you more examples. Now, split face principles. Left side, forehead to chin. So you have to read from your forehead all the way to chin. Now, this side represents internalized emotions and personal subconscious life. More expressive left side equals to emotionally rich inner world, possible unprocessed feelings. So that means if you are looking at someone and their left half of the face shows you a very expressive side and their left half of the face shows you certain emotions, whatever vibe you get from looking at their left half will tell you how this person consistently feels inside their body or inside their subconscious mind. Now let's understand the right side. Now the right side reflects public persona and external behavior. More expressive right side equals to focus on social approval or performance-based identity. That means the right half of a person's face will tell you how they show themselves to the world. Now this raises a really big question. What if someone has a symmetrical face or asymmetrical face? So let's understand that and then we'll dive into this. So let's understand facial symmetry. Symmetrical face shows emotional transparency and alignment with inner and outer self. That means if someone has a symmetrical face, that means their right and left are equal. That shows this person is really open about their thought process. They express whatever they have inside really easily. And this person might also be honest. But that is not how you spot a liar. That means the probability of this person being honest is more. That doesn't mean that people who have asymmetrical face are liars, but it shows that people who have asymmetrical face might have certain difficulties in expressing what they feel inside, or they might not express themselves that easily. So if there is asymmetry, that means emotional suppression, unresolved trauma, or masking true feelings. So that means if a person's face is asymmetrical, so what you have to do is you have to look at their left side and their right side to get a vibe of what their left side says. What kind of emotion are you reading on their left side? And what kind of emotion are you reading on their right side? And that will tell you what's happening in their inner world or in their subconscious mind and how they present themselves to the world. And that will tell you a lot about a particular person. Lastly, lines and muscle reading. Deep lines may indicate areas of chronic emotional tension. Observe muscle activity around the eyes, mouth, and jaw for real-time emotional cues. Now, we're not going to dive deep into understanding the lines on the face right now. That is way too advanced. So we're not going to talk much about it, but I'll tell you the best way. See, your subconscious mind has a really great analytical performance when it comes to reading people's vibes. So that is the reason at times you will meet a person without them even saying a word. You would just be able to read that there's something off about this particular person, or maybe something is going on with this particular person. So that means you can instinctively read a person's face by your subconscious mind. So I want you to use that. And how can you use that? Anytime you meet someone, look at their left side of the face. That is your right. And look at their right side of the face, which becomes your left. Now, I know this might be a bit confusing, and remember, I'm recording in a mirrored state, so you can read my face, and I want you to analyze when you put my face in half. What does the left half, this is my left half, and this is my right half, what does it tell you about my internal state? What do I feel inside? Just get a vibe of, just instinctively analyze the face. Like, what kind of vibe are you getting when you look at my left side of the face? And what is the vibe that you are getting when you look at the right side of my face? And the best way to check the vibe is whatever comes to your mind first. Your subconscious mind is incapable of lying. That means it will give you an honest analysis. All you have to do is just go with your instincts, and you will realize that a lot of the psychics also do this. They instinctively tell you what they can read about you because they are good with reading. So go with your instincts and comment down, what do you read about my internal world and what do you read about my external world, and do mention what kind of model you are applying in the comments so that I can understand that what kind of model are you applying on my face. Now, if you see, my face is not symmetrical, it's asymmetrical. My left side is a bit different than my right side. So that means there is a difference in what I think inside and what I speak outside. And I tell this to a lot of the people. I know a lot more when I'm talking to people. I just pretend like I don't know. This is because when I was practicing all of these methods, I used to watch a lot of serial killer documentaries. I would look at those investigation tapes and I would just analyze their body language, their facial expressions. And I became so good at reading people, and I got so excited and cocky. I would just go up to people and I would start reading them like, okay, I can read this about you. And people would get shocked and downright afraid of me. So I started understanding you're not supposed to tell people each and everything that you read about them. So I usually never tell people all of the truth. I just tell them what they can accept at that given point. Now, you can use this particular technique anytime you're interacting with someone. If you look at their normal face when they are not thinking about something, they are just casually sitting, what their left side says and what their right side says about them. But when you are communicating with people, people will be making all those expressions, right? People will be making all those expressions, and you can also apply this while you are talking with people. So you will have a live diagnostic of what they are feeling inside and what they are speaking outside. So that will also give you a great insight of how this person is feeling within any given moment. Now, at times you might be talking to someone and you will observe that their smile is more on the left side than their right side. So that shows this person might be really happy inside, but they are not expressing that happiness on the outside. Or if the situation was vice versa, their smile is more brighter on the right side as compared to their left side. That means they are projecting happiness while they are not as happy. So observe their face in half, and that will also tell you a lot about what a particular person is thinking or what their dominant neurological state is. So go ahead, comment down your analysis on my face, and if you are right about me, I'll reply back to you. Just make sure you mention what kind of model you are applying on my face so that I can understand which model is being applied and if your analysis is right. Now, in section 4, we are going to talk about body reading, your physiology to your psychology. Now, we have been talking about reading people's faces, but true reading is when you can also read the physiology of a particular person. That means their entire body. The body also speaks volumes about a person's neurological state, their subconscious mind. So let's understand, what does a person's body reveal about what's going inside their head. Physical form reflects behavioral tendencies according to evolutionary psychology principle of form follows function. Now remember this. Form follows function. A person's body type is not random. It adapts to survive subconscious survival strategies. This section explores how height, build, and posture can reveal how a person subconsciously relates to power, emotion, and intellect. Now, in this section, I want you guys to understand we are not body shaming anyone. We all have different bodies, but our bodies speak volumes about what's going inside of us, and we are going to understand that. Now, let's understand body traits and psychological meaning. Short stature. Now, people with short height, what you need to understand about them is they often develop high intellectual agility or cunning as a survival tool. They rely on strategic thinking over physical confrontation. Now, you have to understand evolutionary psychology over here. According to evolutionary psychology, if you are big, if you are strong, you do not need to use much of your brain ideally, because you know you can confront anyone with your presence and you are physically capable of handling anyone. But people who are not physically tall will often rely on their intellectual capabilities as their survival tool. So you have to understand evolutionary psychology over here, and I want you to observe all the people in your life who are really short, and you are going to observe people with short height will often use a lot of their mind as their survival strategy as compared to people who are tall, and we are going to talk about that. But I want you to observe this. People who are short will often have more intellectual capabilities, or they might be really cunning. So anytime you meet someone, look at their height and you can tell whether this person's confrontational method is using their intellect or it is by confronting other person. They do not rely much on their intellect. So you can tell how a person operates. And I have observed this. One of my ex was really short, but damn, I could never ever win an argument with her because she would always make up some stories, and she was really good with all those political agendas and etc. The height was talking volumes about what faculty does she utilizes more. She used her mind more to dominate a particular person because she knew physically she wasn't capable enough of doing that. And that doesn't mean that a person who is short is actually thinking about fighting you, but that is just evolutionary psychology. Now let's talk about people who are tall. Naturally perceived as dominant, more likely to be direct or confrontational, less inclined to rely on intellect, more on physical or social presence. Now, let's talk about people who are tall. Now, people who are tall, according to evolutionary psychology, they do not need to prove themselves as dominant because their physical form, remember, the form follows the function. So, if you have a particular form, the function will be present too. That means if you are tall, your subconscious mind already knows that you are very dominant. So it doesn't need more intellectual strategies to be noticed because your subconscious mind knows that you are being noticed easily without even using much of your brain. That is also one of the reasons that people who are short, by using their mental abilities as compared to their presence, because their presence is not as dominating. That is evolutionary psychology. And you will also observe people who are tall will often be very confrontational. That means that any time that you have an argument with a particular person who is tall, the probability of them saying something really smart is really less as compared to their own presence. They would try to use their own presence to win an argument as compared to use their brains. But people who are short would use their brain more as compared to people who are tall. Now, these are just probabilities. That doesn't mean it applies to everyone. And remember what I said? You have to look at the cluster. You need to analyze everyone with clusters. That means you need to apply 2-3 models and then come to a conclusion. So you can also use this to understand how the person operates internally. Now, if a person is well built or fit, it indicates discipline, consistency, and mind-body control, reflects subconscious structure and goal orientation. Now, this is really common. A person who is really fit, you can naturally tell that this person really works out, look after themselves, they have their emotions controlled, because obviously to remain fit, you need to be in control of your emotions so that you don't do any kind of emotional eating or avoid eating due to emotional stress. Also, you can tell if a person is fit, they are consistent. Consistency is a part of their subconscious trait. They might also be very disciplined just because their physical form is reflecting the functionality. So just by observing someone's physical form, you can also understand what kind of functionalities do they have inside of them. And a great example is, you might have observed this. People who are usually fit, anytime they walk into a room, most of the people will notice them because their physical form is creating a subconscious influence on other people. And usually when you look at someone who's really fit, you can just tell that they are disciplined, they might be consistent, and you can also tell that this particular person is really goal driven. They might also have a lot of patience, because to have a well-built body, you need to have consistency and patience. So you can also tell with this form comes the functionality of patience. So that's how you can analyze someone who is really well built. Now, if you observe someone who is obese, unfit, underweight, you can tell certain things about this person's subconscious mind. That is, this suggests possible impulse control issues or emotional eating tendencies. But this also applies to people who are underweight. That means due to their emotions, they are not able to eat as much as their body requires them to eat. This often reflects emotional overwhelm or poor subconscious health management. That means if your body is not fit, it's on either of the extremes. Either it is being obese or underweight. Whatever it is, it reflects that the person might have certain emotional impulses. This person might be very emotionally driven. Consistency might not be something that you can associate with this particular person. Even patience is something that this person might not be good with, because their body reflects that the functionality is not present. Their form reflects that the functionality is not present. Now, this is once again a probability. Let's talk about the postural structure. Slouched shoulders, weak back equals to low self-esteem, insecurity, or lack of internal support. Now, you might have observed certain people have really slouched shoulders, or their back is usually bending. And do you know why do people have that? Because anytime you're depressed, if you observe how depressive people sit, they have their shoulders slouched and their back is bending. So if a person consistently stays in this state or this neurological state, their physical body will also develop that form. So if the functionality is present, the form will also develop. So just by looking at someone's shoulders and their back, you can tell whether this particular person has low self-esteem or high self-esteem, whether this person feels insecure about themselves or not. Upright spine and open chest. So upright spine and open chest, what does that mean? That means internal confidence and emotional clarity. So a person who has their spine straight, who walks with their chest open, you can naturally associate that this person is feeling really confident about who they are, and they might have a lot of emotional clarity. Now, in this section, what we have spoken about is analyzing someone by looking at their body. We are not judging someone's body, but we are just judging that if the physiology is present, the functionality, the psychology will also be there. So if the form is present, the functionality will also be present, or if the functionality is present, it will manifest into the form or your physical body. So this is also one of the method of reading someone's subconscious mind. So now you know 3 models. Now I want you to apply this particular model on me and comment down your analysis and tell me what do you feel by observing my body. What can you tell about me? So comment down your answers and I'll reply to every one of you. Now let's understand section 5, which is language reading, which is space occupation and movement. How a person moves and occupies space reflects their inner confidence, emotional safety, and relational stance. Cold readers can decode subconscious attitude, boundaries, and honesty by analyzing a person's posture, gesture, and spatial dynamics during interaction. Now, what we're going to talk about, we have already understood how the physical form of the body reflects the inner state. Now, in this section, what I'm going to show you is what they are doing with their body also reflects what's going inside their subconscious mind. So let's understand that. Body language cues. Now I want you to understand these body language cues because they will really help you understand what a person is thinking at any given moment. Taking up more space equals to confidence, dominance, and self-assuredness. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you go around and you just spread your body everywhere. That means if a person is feeling comfortable and they are occupying more space, like me right now, if I'm occupying more space, that shows that I'm feeling confident. I'm confident enough to occupy space. Now, over here, you also need to understand how our subconscious mind works. If your subconscious mind is feeling confident, it will enlarge or expand your body to occupy more space because it wants to be noticed, it is comfortable being noticed, it doesn't want to be neglected. So if someone is sitting and occupying more space, and I do not mean occupying space in a really weird way, like they are spreading their hands apart, that is not what I'm talking about. How comfortable they are in occupying more space around them. So if they are occupying more space, that shows that they are really confident about who they are, and it is a very subconscious response. Similarly, shrinking posture equals to insecurity, social withdrawal, or shame. Have you observed someone who doesn't want to be noticed in a class? They will sit like this, something like this, they will bend down, they will shrink. That is a very subconscious response. Anytime a person doesn't want to be noticed, their body will shrink. Their body language will shrink. And if their body is shrinking, that means they do not want to be noticed, or they do not want to interact with you right now. Or they might even be feeling shame, or they are not feeling like talking to you, or there is something going on inside of them that is making them shrink their body. Now, I do this kind of reading a lot with people. At times, I will meet people and they will be sitting with a really shrink posture, like they would be sitting something like this. And as I start communicating with them, and as I observe their body starts occupying more space. And that is my cue to understand whatever I'm doing, this person is opening up to me. This person is becoming really comfortable in interacting with me. And that is one of my ways of making people open up to me. And their body speaks to me about if they are open to interact more with me. So I use different linguistic models, and as I'm using them, I can observe in their body. If their body is occupying more space, hallelujah, I'm inside their head. But if their body shrinks, that means whatever you are doing is not working on them, and they do not want to interact with you, or they feel guilty or shame, or they do not want to be seen right now. So just by understanding how much space a person is occupying, it tells a lot about what they're feeling inside. So comment down what can you read about me, and I will let you know. Now, the next thing is the posture. Open posture, that means arms relaxed, chest open, equals to trust and connection. Like I said, when I start talking with people and if I see that they're occupying more space, I also observe if their arms are relaxed and if their chest is open. That means they are not covering their chest, because it's a very subconscious response. Anytime someone feels threatened, they will cover their face or cover their body. But anytime someone feels comfortable, their hands will be relaxed, their chest will be open, and that shows that they are open for connection with you. And I notice this anytime I'm talking to people. Now, what does a closed posture means? That means arms crossed, shoulders turned, and that shows guardedness or disconnected. If you have observed someone who sits like this and they are talking to you, don't you feel like, oh my God, why is this person being so arrogant? Or that their body language is sort of threatening towards you, because you can just read the vibe that this person is not as openly connected with you. That is very instinctive, but now you know how to read a person's body language. If a person really wants to connect with you or they are happy to connect with you, you will observe that their hands will be relaxed and their chest will be open and pointing towards you. That means they are open for connection. But if their hands are crossed, or if they are not facing you, or their chest is not facing you, that means that this particular person is no longer open for communication with you. So comment down what do you feel about my posture and I'll reply to you. Now let's understand movement patterns. Leaning in shows interest, engagement, or seeking approval. That means anytime you are sitting with someone and you are having a dialogue with them, if they are leaning in, that means they are really interested in this conversation. They are engaged with your subconscious mind and they might also be seeking your approval. Leaning in shows someone's subconscious mind is connected to us. Remember, for our subconscious mind, if we feel attracted towards someone, our subconscious mind will subconsciously try to close down the distance between them and us, and that shows intimacy as well. But anytime our subconscious mind does not feel like connecting with someone, it will try to put some distance between them and you. So that means that if they are leaning away, that shows discomfort, disinterest, or emotional retreat. So anytime you're talking to someone and if you are leaning in and they are not, that is your sign to understand that you might be way too interested in this person, but this person is not that interested into you. But anytime you observe that someone is leaning in, that means you have a good subconscious rapport with this particular person. They are into you, or they are at least subconsciously connected to you. And you can apply this on your dates, and I have done this several times. It works flawlessly. Now, defensive gestures. Placing an object between self and other equals to subconscious guarding. Now, this is also one of the ways you can detect if someone is lying or if they are trying to hide something. If you ask someone a question, if they are lying, you will observe that they will subconsciously put something in between you, such as maybe an object, or even if they don't even have an object around, they might put their hand in between. This is your subconscious way of putting something in between you and them as a way of feeling safety. Now, I have practiced all of these methods by observing a lot of investigative interviews, and I have seen anytime an investigator asks the suspect something where they are becoming guarded, or they are lying, or they're trying to hide something, they will subconsciously either put their hand on their mouth, or if there is an object on the table, they will subconsciously grab the object and put it in between them, and that shows that they are feeling guarded, or maybe they are lying. And I test this with a lot of the people when they are lying, and usually a lot of the people feel really afraid talking to me because I can detect lies spot on. And one of the ways that I do that is anytime I ask someone a particular question, I observe what does their body do. Because anytime you ask someone a question and it goes inside their subconscious mind, it will trigger a neurological state. Now, if this person is lying or feel like hiding, the panic or the guardedness will kick in. Their neurological state will change, and subconsciously they might either put a hand in between you and them, or an object between you and them. And that tells me, oh, They are hiding something. And this is the really nice way of testing someone out. I'll tell you another way as well. If you want to spot a liar, put a glass of water in front of them and then ask the most critical question that you believe that this person is going to lie about. This is because anytime someone is lying, have you observed that anytime that you are lying, your mouth will become dry? That is because your subconscious process is so interrupted and all of your energy goes inside your brain to make up a plan to get out of that situation, that your subconscious mind will often forget to produce saliva in your mouth, and that will make your throat and your mouth dry. And as a subconscious response, if there is a glass of water, the person will grab it and take a sip. And that's something I have also observed by observing these suspects in investigative interviews. Anytime that they are lying, they will ask for a glass of water. And the moment they ask for the glass of water, I know that they are lying or something just hit their nerve. So this is also a way. So just remember that. Touching the face or neck, stress, uncertainty, or deceit. Like I said, if you ask someone a question and if they are touching their face, touching their neck, or if they try to rub their body in any way, remember, rubbing their body is a way to soothe their senses. They are trying to calm themselves down because their neurological state might have anxiety or even panic, and they are trying to calm themselves down. So that is one of the way as well. So that is also something that you can observe in a person and you can tell that, oh, something is wrong over here. The topic that we are talking about, this person doesn't feel like talk about this. So this is also a sign. So read this. Shoulder position. Slump equals to low self-worth and sadness. We have already learned this. But in this section, we're talking about live reading. We're talking about body language. We're not talking about their physical form, but how their body is moving as you are interacting with them. So if someone's shoulders go down, that means you can already tell that this person is feeling lack of self-worth, or they might even be sad. Because remember, anytime someone is sad, you can just observe their body language. Their shoulders will be down. They will be slumped back, as compared to someone who's really confident will have their shoulders wide and they would stand tall. Raised / tense, defensive or high stress. So if they are raised like this, that shows that the person is defensive or they have high stress. And I read this as well. So you see, a lot of the body gestures that we are talking about, a person does this very subconsciously throughout the communication. The more you practice, the more you can read all of these gestures flawlessly, and it's almost like you are inside their head. Relax. That means emotional safety and grounded presence. So if they're relaxed, the person is very relaxed, and you can say that by just looking at the shoulders. Now, everything that I have taught you in this section is your way of reading a person live when you are communicating with them, because a person will make a lot of gestures when they are communicating with you. Like when I'm communicating with you guys, I'm making a lot of different hand gestures. So a person will make similarly a lot of gestures when they are communicating with you. This is your guide to understand what they are feeling inside, because people are not honest. And I'll tell you that with experience, many people are not honest with what they are thinking or feeling and how they are portraying themselves. So with this practice, you are also going to understand how to read people's body language when you are communicating with them. Our last section is linguistic analysis reading. Every individual has a dominant sensory modality through which they interpret and describe the world. By listening closely to their language, a cold reader can determine how someone processes experience visually, auditorily, emotionally, which is kinesthetic, or logically, which is known as auditory digital. This reveals not only their thought pattern, but also their emotional filter and subconscious map. So anytime you're communicating with someone and you want to influence them or connect with them effortlessly, you need to observe their words and observe which is their dominant sense. And if you can tell which is their dominant sense, you will be able to effectively communicate with this particular person and build a bond with them instantly. So let's understand that. Now let's understand visual first. Phrase this like, I see what you mean. It looks clear. Can you picture it? Now you see, all of these phrases are talking about visual sense. Now if I say, I see what you mean, does that mean I can really see? No. I am expressing through my dominant sense that I understand you. I'm just saying the word, I see what you mean, because my visual sense is more sharper than my other senses. So that means visual might be my dominant sense. So if you communicate with me using visual linguistic, like, can you picture this for me? And if you see, you are going to understand. And phrases like these that use the visual reference, they will be something that I will accept very easily, and I will bond with you instantly because visual is my dominant sense. This indicates a preference for images, mental visuals, and big picture orientation. That means if you just understand this and if you can pick this from someone's linguistic or their conversation, you can tell that this particular person relies heavily on visuals. So in dating context, I'll tell you this. If I hear a person say something like, I see what you mean, I see where this is going, and they're using a lot of visual linguistic, I know this person is enticed by visuals. So that means I need to dress up good, I need to look good, I need to take them to a place that is visually appealing, because visual is their dominant sense. And it also tells me that this person thinks about big picture. That means this person thinks about the bigger picture or the bigger reality or the bigger aspect of everything, because visual is their dominant sense. And if you can pick this up, use visual linguistic more, use visual related words more with these kind of person, and you will observe that the person will connect with you easily. Now let's understand auditory phrases that are, that sounds good, I hear you, it rings a bell. Now if you see, these phrases emphasize on our auditory senses. So if someone is using a lot of auditory linguistic, that means auditory sense is their dominant sense. So when you are talking to them, you can use phrases like, you hear what I'm saying? Now you see, if I say you hear what I'm saying, this might resonate easily with this person because auditory is their dominant sense. It indicates verbal processing, musicality, and auditory memory. And you will also observe that people who have dominant auditory sense means they listen to a lot of different people. They might even take a lot of other people's opinion, because these people have their dominant sense as auditory. They might also be in a lot of music, and they might even enjoy a lot of music. So you can see, since their dominant sense is auditory, their subconscious mind will also function that way. Now let's come to auditory digital. Now what is auditory digital? Phrases like, that makes sense, I understand the logic, that computes. Now that computes sound really weird. I don't even know why I wrote that. But anyways, now people who have their dominant sense as auditory digital means that these people like to use intellectual language or logical reasoning. So that means you can make use of terms such as, that makes sense, I understand where you're coming from, and that reflects analytical mind, thinker, and information driven personality. So if you're talking to someone and you observe that their linguistic is highly driven by auditory digital terms and phrases, that gives you an insight that this person has an analytical mind. They are driven by logic and they require information to make decisions. So you see, just observing the phrases will tell you a lot about a particular person. Then let's come to the kinesthetic. Phrases like, I feel you, that's heavy, it doesn't sit right with me. Now you see, all these phrases are talking about physical sensation. And this reveals emotionally connected, touch or gut driven individuals. So if you're talking to someone and they use phrases like, I feel you, it's been weighing really heavily on me. So you see, all these phrases are emphasizing that this person's most dominant sense might be kinesthetic. They are emotionally driven person. And I am a kinesthetic person. I use these phrases a lot, such as, I feel you, and I can feel what you are going through. And that is so true about me, because I can feel people easily, and that is my job as well. And I am a really great empath. So You can tell if someone is using kinesthetic linguistic that they might be a good empath, they might be really good with understanding people's feelings, and these people are emotionally driven. Now, lastly is gustatory or olfactory. Now, this is very rare. We're talking about taste, and this is really, really, really rare. You might hardly come across someone who says phrases like, that leaves a bad taste, it smells fishy. And I know some people use this, but you will rarely come across this. Many people do not use this sense as their dominant sense. But if they do, what does this mean? They may appear in more poetic or subconscious expression. So that means that if someone is using these phrases, they might be really poetic, or their subconscious expression is really inclined toward philosophies or some things like that. But this is extremely rare. Now, I want you all to understand this. I have taught you right now couple of models. Anytime you are reading someone, I want you to use all of them. Do not use one of them. Now, if you have come this far, here is something I want you to do. Now, if you have analyzed me in each and every section, I want you to analyze me with all the models and give your comprehensive analysis, and I will reply back to that as well. Now, what we need to understand is by using each and every model simultaneously, we are increasing our probability to effectively read someone. You cannot use one model. You have to use a cluster of model together. You have to look at the cluster. You have to look at the common reading from all the models to come to a precise conclusion. Now, this is just really basic form of reading. Some of the best and most advanced ways of reading is vibrational reading. Now, that is way, way, way too advanced. I cannot teach that over here. I know, because for that, you need to understand how your own subconscious mind works. You need to be able to take control of your subconscious mind, your neurological state. You need to understand how you influence other people, and that's exactly what I do in my 15 days instant healing program. So people who have taken my 15 days instant healing program, by the end of it, they have uncovered so many concepts about our subconscious mind. They have a wider understanding of how our subconscious mind works, how our reality works, how other people function. At that point, only at that point, you can understand how to vibrationally read people. That means you can read a person by their vibration, and that is possible. And I have taught that to few of my clients who showed really great interest after taking my 15 days instant healing program, that they wanted to learn more advanced method of reading people, and I taught them those methods, and they are really, really precise, more precise than anything that I have taught you today. But whatever I have taught you today, remember this: practice makes you perfect. Practice this more and more. Find ways to practice this on different people, and you will understand that it will become a subliminal process for your subconscious mind. There will come a time you will be able to instinctively read people, and that is the best way to read anyone, by your instincts. Now, I have placed so much efforts into this. This is just the basic foundation program to understand how to read people. If this video goes great, and if this training program goes great, and if you guys show some love in the comment, I will prepare a more advanced version of this reading. But for now, this is what I have for you guys. I placed in a lot of effort in this training program, so I deserve some love. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Leave a lovely comment to show some words of encouragement, and I will see you guys in the next video. Up until then, stay happy, stay blessed, and keep reading people. Bye-bye.